bottom, I see him being like Snitsky. I don't know if you remember Snitsky from like
No,
2003. Yeah,
not
Snitsky
even a little
was.
bit.
He kind of had the bald head, and he's just a crazy lunatic, huge. So that's kind of where his basement is. Ceiling, Psycho Sid. Basement is Snitsky. The one thing I want kind of for Lars Sullivan, instead of doing the vignettes and all the like the little video packages, I prefer them just to give him like a little backstory and someone be like what Paul Bearer did for Kane to Undertaker. I think that'd be kind of a cooler way to introduce him.
Yeah, I can get behind that. That'd be interesting. It'd be something different that they don't really do anymore. So it would like set him apart, I think, from the rest of the roster. Because that's what you got to do at this point. You got to do something to set yourself apart. And
It'd be
I feel
cool.
like
Yeah, if you just got like I don't even know any managers that are currently available, but if you just had a manager going week after week, and he's just targeting like let's say who's in that U.S. Title contention, maybe we'll just call Jeff Hardy right now, and he's like or Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio would be a good one because it'd be like looking real tough and mean when he body slams and destroys Rey Mysterio. He's just like, hey Rey, he's coming, Rey, get ready. He'll be here next week, Ray. Just every week. Until he finally comes up and just destroys him.
that'd be funny. I like that.
Also,
All right.
let's put out a Twitter question. We'll put a little Twitter question out. That'll be our Twitter question of the podcast, I guess. I don't know. Let's say, what do you guys think Lars Sullivan's potential is on WWE? What character or what wrestler would you say he's going to be most resemblant of?
Okay, I like that. That's a good one. We'll put it out when we put the show out.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the men's Survivor Series match then. Mike, so this match, obviously, as we all know, was brought to you by Easy Breezy Beautiful Cover Girl, LA Fitness, LA Inc., just for men, and of course the summer's biggest blockbuster, Marine 6, Close Quarters.
Damn, that's a lot of big names. I don't know how WWE brought all those big name advertisement deals. They didn't even have Stack'em. Stack'em was huge in the Attitude Era. That was my favorite one.
Stack'em, love them. It's the number one weight loss supplement for men. So
it's the number one weight loss supplement for men in their basement trying to burn some energy, sweat a little bit while they're watching Raw, and their favorite wrestler getting their ass kicked week in and week out.
That's Mike. What you just described is TLP's wet dream right there. That's what it is right there.
That's what I do. That's how I burn my weight. I drink a lot of beer.
That's how I burn weight as well.
I drink a lot of beer. I sweat it all out because I'm like, oh boy, is Enzo going to make his debut again this week?
Enzo's not coming back, Mike. Accept it.
I'm not accepting it. Enzo's coming back.
Mike, so what did you think about this match?
It was fun. It was not really what I was expecting Raw to win because you had the Braun Strowman stipulation, so you expected that. Did not expect it to go the way it went, where they were just so dominant. I thought Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman would cost each other, and one of them would get eliminated. Bobby Lashley never got eliminated, which was kind of surprising to me. I guess they're trying to protect him a little bit, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a bloodbath. I liked Shane McMahon just getting clobbered midair by Braun Strowman, and he looked like he couldn't even stand it anymore. Couldn't stand, and he's just wobbling, and then Braun Strowman just put him out of his misery, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, there were some pretty cool spots in the match. I didn't think it was a great match, to be honest with you. I think a lot of the wrong people got eliminated in pretty wrong ways. I think Samoa Joe getting eliminated in the first 5 seconds is. I think Drew McIntyre making an early elimination is great for him, but I think that doing it at the cost of Samoa Joe is not right. I think it should have been done at the cost of Shane McMahon or something like that. But meanwhile, we have Drew McIntyre and Finn Balor continuing their turf war over the northern part of the United Kingdom. So that's interesting. That'll be something to keep an eye on going forward.
I want to talk about Samoa Joe a little bit. I think.
All right, go ahead.
I didn't like that he got eliminated that early, but I think it's better because then you don't get to see him get beat up by Corbin or not Corbin, but Strowman and Drew McIntyre. He doesn't look like he takes as much beating, but I mean I guess he looks weak if he takes that pin that early. But I just don't want to see him take a big beating and look kind of weak instead. And it's also hard because he'd have to get some eliminations because he's so dominant.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know. I feel like that's
they were going on the right track to begin with when they were going to have him. It looked like put the Coquina clutch on Drew McIntyre, and I was like, oh shit, that's going to be dope. That's going to be like make for a really interesting like dynamic down the road. But I mean, they just kind of buried him with it. But
Yeah, that's true.
but Mike, I want to talk about Constable Baron Corbin. He was inappropriately dressed for this match. He needs to come out. He's a professional, okay? He needs to be wearing his jacket at the very least. He needs to be wearing a suit and tie, I think. But at least he just throw a jacket on. I mean, for God's sakes, even Leo Rush wore a jacket for crying out loud. And if Leo Rush can do it, then the general manager of Monday Night Raw should do it as well. I have to call Constable Corbin out. This is ridiculous. I know he's the acting general manager, but in my mind, he's been reduced back to constable at this point because of that egregious violation of the rules.
Damn, demoting him to constable?
Demoting him back to constable.
That's probably the worst crime I could ever see. So let's talk about the other GM. Is her job in jeopardy? Her squad just got shellacked. They got swept. If you don't count the pre-show, I want to count the pre-show, but hey, no one else wants to count it. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. So is her job in jeopardy?
Mike, it might be. It is flight tracking season, so I think what we need to do is we need to get on all the flight trackers and keep in mind, where all these old WWE stars are who could possibly come in for start interviewing for GM positions, and we need to start looking for that. We need to start looking at, hey, who's coming in from where? Who do we need to be keeping an eye on to maybe replace Paige because she's not doing so hot right now? So, hey, these are things we need to keep in the back of our mind. That's all I'm saying.
We need to make this a joke on Twitter. Every time we see anyone flying anywhere, we just need to tweet out like, "Uh-oh, new SmackDown GM? Question mark,
Yep.
question mark." I'm all about it.
Just an old red-eye flight from, like, Charlotte to, I don't know, Blacksburg, Virginia is all of a sudden, it's like, oh, new SmackDown general manager maybe? I don't know. Question mark?
We got to keep an eye on who's going to Greenwich. That's funny. I like that. We're going to make that a thing. Every time we see an old wrestler just flying anywhere, we're going to say, I'm going to see where Xbox going. I'm going to see whenever Xbox gets off a flight.
There you go.
I'm sure Xbox definitely has something going there.
Xbox, the new GM of SmackDown Live. You heard it here first.
Last thing I want to say about this match. Is Shane McMahon's title of Best in the World in trouble?
Shane McMahon's title of Best in the World is already gone, Mike. I hate to break it to you. It's already gone.
I mean, he almost came back.
It's gone. It's dead. It's dead. I will say this, though. He did win. He did eliminate Dolph Ziggler from the match. So that there's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for it.
I wonder what they're going to do with Shane McMahon. I read some rumor, I don't know how true this was, that they wanted to do Shane McMahon versus someone in WrestleMania. It might have been Daniel Bryan. I don't know.
Stop making Shane McMahon a part of WrestleMania. Just stop.
I agree. Just let him be Vince McMahon and be an asshole. Let him be Vince McMahon.
Just let him just stop wrestling. Just make him stop. All right, I'm done with that. All right.
Last thing I want to say one more thing. I want to say one more thing. I was watching Vince. I wasn't watching Vince, but I was just kind of thinking about Vince the other day because I was watching the old Survivor Series, and it's kind of crazy. He was doing all the announcing stuff, and he was doing the backstage interviews. And then Shane was kind of just came up. He was just like a wrestler, I guess, and he was just the daddy's son, which was kind of weird. And it's just weird his progression versus Vince's progression.
Yeah, that is a little awkward.
Well, anyway.
We'll move on now to the women's championship match, which in my opinion was match of the night. With less than 4 days to prepare, we had Charlotte and we had Ronda Rousey put together an absolutely brutal match. I mean, and Mike, this was just insane. Ronda had that one little slip that I think added just monumental amounts to the match. But I mean, good grief! What were your thoughts on this? Because I could talk for all day about how much I loved this match.
It was a phenomenal match. Loved the match. Loved the ending. Loved everything about it. But let's talk about that little slip for a second. That slip, it did add a little bit of elements. It gave her that blood coming from her mouth, and it would just look kind of brutal. It kind of gave to the illusion that, maybe Charlotte is pretty dominant and she can outstrength her, and maybe she can beat her. And then you just see like the mixture of her makeup and her blood. It just kind of made her look kind of like a villain, I guess.
I think that it had a lot of the same effect. I think that the Becky Lynch blood had on Raw this past week is that it just added so much more to it and made her look like it for like different reasons. So like the Becky Lynch blood, like made it look like holy shit, like she is a badass. She is like coming in, taking fucking nothing for she is not taking shit. She is taking everything from everybody, but at the same time, she's not taking shit from them either. But then like Becky, like Ronda comes in and Charlotte she has that one little slip and busts her face on the turnbuckle, but it like has the opposite effect of being like, oh shit, like she's human. Like Charlotte might actually like fucking win this thing. Like she's made her bleed. Like she's made someone that's looked like near perfect to this point like bleed. And so I thought that was a really interesting like dynamic. And
the only thing I would want more from that blood is to hear JR on the commentary and you see, by God, she's covered in a crimson mask. Do something, ref. That's the only thing I could ever have asked for. Make it a little bit better.
Jim Ross just adds so much to commentary.
This match was it was a really good match. It started off a little weird. It was kind of like, I wouldn't say clumsy, but it was just like kind of like a weird pace. And it kind of looked like Ronda wasn't ready for that pace, and they kind of looked a little off. And then they settled in. I think once Ronda actually hit that turnbuckle, she kind of said, okay, I need to relax. I need to like calm down and take my moves a little slower and just make sure everything gets done. And I think it just came together a lot more after that little turnbuckle little incident.
I think that's part of her like style though, is the way she sells is she's very like not like fluid with her movement like at all, but like very clumsy with it, and like she sells like being like very like, oh, I'm just falling all over the place and like that kind of thing, which like is kind of dangerous like for her, to be honest, because like if you don't have like control over your body, especially when you're selling, like you could actually hurt yourself really badly. And I mean like obviously she still is so much better than she has any right to be in terms of everything, and I mean, it works for her. Like, I genuinely believed, like, she was, fucking hurting like a motherfucker out there. And she probably was. But, I mean, she just sold it really, really well. But I think that part of the reason that it felt weird was I think that this match, like, kind of had, like, a pace and, like, a fervor to it that I think all of wrestling is, like, going to in the future. Like, the kind of just, like, furious pace and, like, frantic, almost, like, tons of moves being hit, lots of movement around the ring. There was no real like standing still, kind of like methodical kind of beat down. It was very, very athletic. There was lots of like very technical wrestling in it. Like I think that's kind of the way that wrestling is going to look in the future, more or less, like much more of that. And I think this was kind of a little segue into a push in that direction, if you will.
I agree. They don't have that methodical, like kind of slower pace really anymore, which I like. You need to throw that in every now and then. I feel like that's something the newer wrestlers could really learn. It's just learning that in-ring psychology and that methodical, just bruiser kind of style. But yeah, you're right. They've been like,
me, though, that's just a different style of wrestling, though. And I think that while that style was very popular back then, I think like it's transitioned to the point where like wrestling is like most wrestlers now are like so much more athletic that like you can do these so much crazier things. So it's like, why wouldn't you? It's like the way that wrestling's just evolved then. Like, you wouldn't see your fucking, top of the card, champions, like, jumping off of ropes and doing crazy flips and shit like that. Like, I mean, and now that's, like, kind of, not, like, commonplace, but, like, it's much more, like, known. And so, I don't know. I think that's just, like, the way it's going.
I agree. You need those. It's going to be coming down. There's more big moves, but I don't want those big moves to be, like, kind of feels overdone. You can't have it feeling overdone. You need that methodical pace, and sometimes, and you need that in-ring psychology every now and then. I think you don't have to completely slow it down completely, but you need to add elements of it, and that's just going to make your match better. It just sells to the overall of the match. It makes the beatdown, like let's say you're just trying to attack the leg, set up a submission. Sometimes you need stuff like that. Sometimes you want to set up your finisher move, or you're trying to like take away their finishing move. So you got to take away the lower half of their body, or take away what they're good at. And you got to have that kind of psychology, that sports psychology.
Yeah, but I mean, you could still have that in a faster match, though. And I think that was like the point, is that they had that in this match, even though it was like much more kind of like a frantic pace to the match. I thought they still had it. So
it was a good match, regardless.
It was very good. It was very good.
We're not really talking match at this point. We're talking more of semantics and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Mike, I think we can both agree though that this was Becky Lynch's plan all along, wasn't it?
Dude, Charlotte, she snapped. She took the kendo stick. She lit into Ronda Rousey. She took out another kendo stick, lit into Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey had some bruises, some welts on the body. She took a